So neither of us are built like him, by the way.
So the idea for this is to be a very free-flowing conversation. So there will be interruptions, there will be interjections, so hopefully some contusions, but no concussions. This will be full contact. I will say, Kyle and I just kind of talked about this. If you hear anybody kind of receding into talking points, into kind of things they've said before 1,000 times, you can start booing. That's totally fine with us. If someone feels the need for the warmth and the boom of their own talking points,
but if you've
please
just
boo,
had a bad day, this is not the place.
Absolutely. That's true. Okay, and we're not going to introduce anybody. That's been online. It's also in your program, so if you need some context for who's sitting up here, that is available to you.
Right, and this group, we've met a couple of times before for, I guess, what would be termed soft dress rehearsals. And the very first time we all met, this concept of the Milwaukee Malaise, which was an article or a series of articles that were in the Milwaukee Journal, was thrown out. And that was a bit of a springboard for discourse for everybody. But we also found that concept bringing us down. Interestingly enough, there were some people that absolutely believed that we had that, and there were some that were adamant that we didn't. And the ones that didn't were really fascinating, I think. We walked away going, wow, I wouldn't have guessed that. In any event, we all were charged by Historic Milwaukee to put forth a big idea, which you guys perhaps have gone to see online. That's the substance and the sussing and the meat of what is going to be discussed tonight in a very free-flowing manner. And the exciting thing, I think, for all of us is that what you've got is placemakers and stakeholders here, all in our own ways. And I don't think a lot of us would have cross-pollinated with the exception of this having come together, which was really very exciting. So as we move around this monopoly board called Milwaukee in our lives, we were forced to discuss and bump into each other here. Now, Adam has a big idea that I didn't entirely agree with, so we're just going to start there.
Right. So, my idea is that I think Milwaukee oftentimes has an inferiority complex. And I think that we need to shift to having an underdog mindset. Inferiority complex is we have scarcity, and we're navigating scarcity together, and we're kind of apologetic about it. We feel as if we need to explain who we are and why we deserve attention and all of that. And an underdog mindset is just, fuck you. We're going to swear, by the way. It's a at this point. Someone else help me out with that later. But it's going to be, we are who we are, we're doing what we're doing, and we don't need to ask permission or apologies for what we're doing.
And what I said was, dude, you're totally wrong. The trouble is, yes, there is maybe one of those, and I like the underdog idea, but I think that we have to try harder and leave more people behind, basically.
First meeting.
I know. And instead of this being a Kyle and Adam show, now we're going to throw it to someone else's big idea, because Sue Black is sitting right there. Her big idea. Well, and we condensed these down into 3x5s because, truth be told, Adam and I are not that smart. But it was a long-range plan for the lakefront, and I thought, there was some interesting news relative to that. You cannot dispute what you accomplished in a either underdog, inferiority, or a trying harder and leaving some people behind kind of way. So, go for it, lady.
Is there a question in there?
How does your long-range plan
it was a we thing. It took everybody. And I think that's one of the things that I like to do and I'm most proud of is bringing people together. I think sometimes people are getting too polarized as opposed to finding where the circles, where we come together. And I think if you can do that, no matter what the project is, we could get more done. And I think that's what I bring to the table with any of the projects that myself and whoever has come to the table and what we've done together, The long-range lakefront plan, so that it was a plan that, actually it was Supervisor Pat Jersick that had called with Jerry Broderick and said, hey Sue, do you want to, this was back in my other life, do you want to chair the Long Range Lakefront Plan? And I was like,
This
sure.
is when you were a crossing guard, right?
Yeah. And I said, yeah, I was looking for something else to do. But actually, well, you wanted real. So, when you drive 94 going east, you know, you stop at the lakefront and you saw that chain link fence, right? Isn't that what we see? And that would always bother me. And I looked at that and I'm like, that's our front door. That's what we're showing the world. So when they asked me to chair the thing, it just came together. I said, who knew that thing that I've been complaining about for years that would lead the group? So long story short, we had a year and a half to do it. We got it done in 3 months because it was supposed to be done December of 12. So if we would have done it, anyways, we got it done. 13 people came to the table and signed on to the plan. And long story short, this morning the governor had a press conference that there were 5 initiatives, and 4 of the initiatives are going to happen. So it is pretty exciting that it was the DNR, the DOT, the state, the county, the city, the business community. It really is going to change the face of Milwaukee. 2 other people that I want is Mike Cudahy. I mean, Mike has done so much for the community. Well, come on, we can't do it. Stop it. But anyways, and Epstein, Ewan Architects with Greg Ewan, the 3 of us went around, and then I can't say enough, Rich Tennyson. That's what I mean. It just takes everybody, you know. And Rick Barrett, I know that he's in the audience, and you know, Matt, what you've done and what have you. But that's the point, whether it's that plan or whatever. But that's huge for the city. I gave them a disc and it's online, so if you don't know what the plan is, I don't want to explain it now, but it's going to change everything. I'm really, really excited about it. So thanks for, anyways, all right, that's what I got.
One of the things is that it happened in record time, Sue. I mean, for Milwaukee, I mean, we're still waiting for a streetcar. Saying, how long is that? So tell me, Sue, what was the difference here?
Well, honestly, I like to run a quick meeting. I think people don't go to meetings because you're there for 3 hours and then people lie about why they have to leave, and so people don't go in the first place. Well, it's kind of the truth.
So you're on to us.
Well, so I think that if you run a really good meeting, people will come. So it was every other Wednesday from 11. I told everybody they'd be done by 12. We got in and out. Everybody had their homework, and boom, boom. You want to stay and chit-chat, do that on your own time. But let's make it very accountable, and it just happened.
Well, then a reality check, though, as to why anybody would even talk about the Milwaukee Malaise. You run a good meeting. That's leadership. How many other people run a good meeting? How many other people? I've seen you when you don't run a good meeting.
You never get done with dinner with him.
And so, you know, so we're talking about how do you get things done? And what's our vision? And if you have a vision, and there's no way to get from your vision to the reality, to the input, and to sit there and say, hey, we pulled it off. That's what the problem is with Milwaukee. We have to have more people who say, I'm going to have a quick meeting. I'm going to get something done. I'm going to take a stand. And it's got to be somebody. And the question is, who is that somebody or somebodies? I mean, Barry fights it. We all fight it. Trying to get something done that we believe is right.
Well, Barry, can you, because this is a bit to your big idea, essentially.
To my big idea.
Yeah, this place, that was perfect.
That was perfect.
Barry's going to pay me later.
Yeah. Well, the idea was to build a private sector vehicle, a leadership vehicle, so that we don't have to wait for the someone to move forward. I think that waiting for a great leader is sort of like waiting for Godot, or maybe waiting for the Messiah. It just may not come in your lifetime.
I disagree. I think there are a wealth of great leaders that are in our city. It's a matter of empowering new leaders to do new things. So it's not too early to be contentious, is it?
No, go for it.
Oh, great. You're doing great, Anthony. Keep these babies coming. One of the things in terms of, I like the idea of the lakefront. I liked the idea of the Riverwalk. I like the idea of having the different entertainment complexes. And a lot of the great ideas that have happened from the leaders that step up, And I get on one hand, it makes sense. You're going to take care of the things that you're interested in. But if it's the same folks with the same interests and they're improving things that people are already taking advantage of, like the lakefront and the Riverwalk and these different festival ideas, there are other leaders with other ideas, with other interests that are getting forgotten, that aren't being invited to the table, that aren't being asked to come in.
That's actually part of Barry's point, I think, which is great, is that it's not just the political leadership. It is the easiest thing in the world to do, to gripe about your politician. It's about your own action that you need to take. And what Barry's idea is about, not just the same people that are around all the tables in Milwaukee, but to truly have all generations, so that we can have different voices at the table and proposing to create sort of a new leadership group.
So the ones on the bar stools too.
Absolutely.
And that's interesting in terms of how we're forward thinking at this circle here, but also how we've been shaped. So when I look at the idea and this partial leadership of private leadership, I automatically assume, the big wigs who have the memberships at the Wisconsin Club, those private industry people.
No, the Milwaukee Club.
He's right.
But thank you for the clarification. I automatically assumed, and I think a lot of people automatically assume.
No, that's why I said private sector. And the private sector, to me, are all those people other than elected officials.
Not even elected officials, but private sector
Because
CEOs.
private sector CEOs, but private sector artists.
I'm a fan of that.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Evelyn, one of her ideas was about how we complain about political leadership and how we need to move beyond that and do something different. And I didn't even use that. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I don't even know if I said that, did I? I did write it down a long time ago. But what I said is that complaining about leadership is a waste of time. And those people get elected because they are who we have to vote for. And we vote because somebody told us to vote. And we may not agree with whoever is, in office, but that's who we have. So for me, leadership begins, I would say, with ourselves. And I said one of our main ways to lead is by leading our own bodies by becoming healthy. And that's by eating raw green things, which a lot of people don't want to do.
Milwaukee has one of the biggest densities of young professional groups in the entire nation. It's been happening in earnest here for like the last 15 to 20 years. And we always said at Young Professionals in Milwaukee, which kind of formed out of the MMAC about 15 years ago, was nobody gives you the right to stand on the sidelines. And that was our mantra. And Dasha and I used to work together at a public relations firm, and we were really blessed to have a boss that encouraged us to get out there. You get out there, you go do this, I'm going to give you that. And I think if you're a leader in this community, you have to take that within you to say, you know what, I'm going to take a 22-year-old to this meeting. I don't care if it's all 55-year-old guys at this meeting and women. I want you to be here. I want you to be at the table. So it's not only our responsibility to step up, this is a collective thing.
Did anybody tell you you have to?
No, we don't want you here.
Right.
What are you doing here? What do you know?
Yeah, I guess that's what I wanted to bring. You have to be ready for that.
Right, you do.
Constantly. More often than you're ready. I mean, you have to be ready to be exhausted of hearing it.
Without a doubt.
None of us ever
You gotta have
were
fun
ready
doing
for
it.
it. None of us was ready for it. We were in the right place at the right time, or you got kicked by the right person. So we have to, I agree, do more kicking. And a lot of us, a lot of my ideas were about giving that space for these young people. If they're not engaged in the conversation, they won't have the practice of engaging themselves in the conversation. Right now, I mean, part of it being a young person, that's grown-up talk. Bring these young people, whether it's a high school student or college student, put them in these meetings. And not just to take the young person on the work day, I mean, really engage them in some of these conversations. And they don't know what they're capable of until we push them into the space of finding out what they're capable of. And this is a city of gatekeepers. When I first moved back to the city, I was amazed at how tightly people hang on to these positions and ideas. And I know it's human nature. I get it. And it's part of the culture. I get it. But there needs to be somebody or some force that's ripping that out of people's fingertips. And I think for young
people, and this is something that I look at Sue and we need more people taking initiative in the city. And I think what you guys are saying is people have to step up, be your own leader.
You know, and I think the idea that you're waiting for someone else to take that first step, you know, take that first step, whether it's in your community, in your own business, as part of the parks director, whoever it is. I think the idea that you can bring people together like that, that's to me, everyone needs champions. You also need believers, and I think that's what really raises and makes success out of projects, whatever it is, visions.
And as an old guy, don't be afraid to have an edge.
Right.
Don't be afraid to be a little bit angry. Don't. Well, if I'm wearing those shoes, I have. You know, part of leadership is being forceful and fighting for what you believe in, and taking a stand and carrying through on it, and not to be afraid to be counted. And all too often, we see the pattern in Milwaukee. Oh, I'm not going to take that on. Or, oh, the politicians are not. That's not the way anything's going to happen, and that's not the way anything's going to change. We have to have people who are willing to step up and be counted, to have an edge, to be tough, and to be heard.
So I am dying to get in over here.
Yeah. Sally, we're both like teleconnecting here.
We just heard an incredible story from Nigel, correct? That story has got to be part of this dialogue. What is going on in the lakefront is going to be extraordinary. The hotel and new retail and apartments and condos and new boulevards. But I would tell you, in parallel, our central city that I have spent so many years working in, trying to do just a little bit of trying to get on the side of the solution rather than the problem. Listen to this gentleman. Listen to what he has to say. And try to figure out, in parallel to this incredible story that we heard that was all of the news today, how do we do something as incredible and significant on North Avenue in the central city?
You know, because you live in the central, I mean, you don't live there, but you work there.
Yes.
You know that there are several people working to build that area up. You know, like Wilfred Sanders
Absolutely.
and Melissa Goins
Absolutely.
and Walnut Way,
Absolutely.
with all they're doing. All those people are working really hard, so it means that things are moving along, and it's getting better.
And Evelyn, let me just say is that there are incredible pockets of extraordinary activity.
Right.
And I suspect that though many people in our community are not aware of them, because all that you just mentioned in terms of Walnut Way, etc., is extraordinary people, extraordinary work. But all I'm saying is, how do we have this become part of the dialogue so that we can get excited about this and that at the same time? If I had the answer, I would spit it out right now, but I don't have it.
I don't understand what you're saying, because these people are part of the city, and they're all working throughout the system.
There was a press conference for them, and the work that they're doing.
But you have.
They do have them sometimes. I mean, when something happens, like Melissa Goins, when she started, there was a press conference. There is a press conference for Walnut Way.
And this isn't that there's zero. I mean, please, Evelyn, that is not at all the years that I've been working there. But I am just suggesting is extraordinary.
Well, I'm saying that's not extraordinary. Just because what they're doing is different doesn't mean that what we're doing is not extraordinary in that area to make it better.
Okay.
So it's
And I think with media, we can take a story like a Wilfred Sanders, Melissa Goins, Walnut Way, and say it's 1 in a million. And that in itself is almost an indictment